Hey everybody, Shawn here from the Automation Blog and School, and in this episode of the Automation Podcast, I sit down with Markus Bachmann from Codesys North America to learn all about their product, which is one of the leading PLC platforms in the world. Markus, thank you for coming on the Automation Podcast to tell us all about Codesys, or is it Codesys? Before you give us an answer to that and tell us all about this great product and this great platform, could you tell our audience just a little bit about who you are?
Sure. Thanks, Shawn, for having me here. My name is Markus Bachmann, and I'm the president here of Codesys Corporation in North America. We're the US division of the Codesys Group, which is the manufacturer of the Codesys product. So when we're talking Codesys, we're usually talking both the product Codesys and the company Codesys. So I try to differentiate that a little bit coming up. But Codesys here in North America, I've been here in charge since 2018. And we were founded as the subsidiary for the US to better service our US customers, especially US and Canada, as well as Mexico. So my background, I'm an electrical engineer by trade, been originally from Germany, been working as an engineer here in the US since 2003. And in 2018, I took over the president here as a president for Codesys Corporation in North America, with the mission to bring in my experience with industrial automation, factory automation, as well as process automation to our customers and help them find the right product for them, help them automate their plans, projects, whatever it is, and pretty much be there for any questions anyone might have about Codesys and how to use it.
Excellent. I know I just personally got my first experience with it, even though I've been doing this for 32 years, when I did an episode of my show on the IFM HMI controller. So I'm looking forward to learning more too, having just used it myself.
All right. It's actually, for the most part, a great experience getting started with Codesys. It's fairly intuitive to use. If you're already familiar with programming, IEC 611, meaning structured text, the ladder logic, function block diagram, and those automation world-specific programming languages for PLCs and DCS systems. And what I really like about Codesys is that we really focus the whole company on that one product, and we're trying to make it the best product out there. So just let me give you a quick introduction on who we are, the Codesys Corporation. As I said, we are part of the Codesys Group, which is headquartered in Kempten, Germany. And we're been founded in 1994 in Germany, and been growing ever since, pretty much continuously over all those years, and focused on one product, or I would say one main product group, and that is the Codesys IEC 61131 development system for PLC programming, the runtime systems to go with that, and some infrastructure around it. So we have currently about 200 employees worldwide, most of them headquartered in Germany, and we have 7 employees here in our US office for technical support and sales and trainings that we're offering here in the US. Regarding the company, like I said, we've been growing big time over the last few years. What you see here is our turnover for 2020. We haven't finalized 2021 yet, but overall, the Codesys Group was doing about $28 million in sales, mostly PLC licenses. And here in the US, we actually last year had a turnover of about 3.2 million. So what is Codesys about? We have a very versatile product that can be integrated in devices, and we have about 400 OEM customers worldwide that integrate Codesys into their control systems. For example, that larger companies here in the US would be Eaton Corporation, Parker, Schweitzer Engineering Labs, plus, of course, many German control manufacturers as well. I'll get to that a little more later on if you are interested. So we've been on the market for 27, actually it's going on 28 now years. If you look at the worldwide application of Codesys controllers, we have about 10 million controllers worldwide in the field, and we are adding about 1.5 million per year currently. So that basically means if you're looking at market share, we are actually, if you look at it worldwide, when it comes to software PLCs, the number one market leader. We also have a huge share in standard PLCs and DCS and control systems on the market. If you combine Codesys software PLCs with standard hardware platforms and then combine it with our OEM customers who are selling their hardware with Codesys already on board and integrated.
Can I ask you a question on this chart?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is, and for the audio audience, I know you can't see this, but it does show Codesys has such a big portion of this industry. I'm particularly wondered, because we do have a big Siemens and Rockwell audience. On the Rockwell side, you listed Isograph, which I believe is a product line they purchased in the past. Would that be just the Rockwell Isograph portion in this chart?
This chart here is talking about software PLCs, meaning okay. PLCs that are not tied to a specific controller hardware.
Okay.
And we definitely have the by far largest market share in that world.
All right, that all makes sense to me now. Thank you.
Yeah. When it comes to hardware-based PLCs, unfortunately, I don't have a chart here. We had a study from 2019 where it showed at least there was a special study for the European market where more people were using Codesys as the programming system for their control environments than any other manufacturers, including Siemens and Rockwell.
And that's and for the audience, if you're new to Codesys, I mean, this like was already said, like Markus said, this is the engine that runs in many vendors' programmable controllers. It's not, you're not going to typically buy a piece of hardware that says Codesys on the front and you're going to buy Codesys I/O modules. These are, and I know we'll get to that in a little bit later. I don't want to steal your thunder there, but this is the engine, and many vendors use that inside of their PLCs.
Right. And like you were saying, Shawn, we do not sell hardware. We have a software PLC and software solutions, and we rely on our OEM customers to integrate Codesys into their hardware platforms and sell that on the market, usually customized to their specific needs and the specific markets. And then we also sell off-the-shelf solutions that are hardware independent and run on pretty much any PC-based hardware, Linux, Windows, as well as ARM-based systems, and some open controllers that are available on the market.
And I've even seen you guys have a little package for the Raspberry Pi, which enthusiasts may want to play with.
Yeah, that's one of our biggest selling products, actually. And I'm always surprised how many of our customers use that as the entry point into the automation systems, because you can build a full-blown PLC with direct IOs and everything right on the Raspberry Pi for probably like $120 total cost. And that's something you can't beat with any other hardware platform.
And
of course, you have the flip side that it's not industrial strength, and you won't have that running in any vibration or temperature sensitive environment. But it's a very good platform for testing out things, for evaluation, and even for hobbyists.
Well, and that's what I'm thinking too. Having spent over 30 years using, 61131, do I really want to brush up on C+ or JavaScript to do a little project at home when I could just put Codesys on it and use what I'm used to? So I think that's one of the reasons why it's popular, at least with our audience.
Right. That is actually one of the things that you can do on pretty much any Codesys hardware platform, is that you can expand from write programming in ladder logic and structured text and those IEC 611 languages to programming in C, and then interfacing those modules that you have on your hardware tightly into the control application and feed data into the IEC program. So it's an open platform, or let's say an open software development platform that allows to expand with other languages. So we have quite a few customers who are doing Python programming on their Linux-based boxes, and then putting Codesys on it to interface with that for utilizing some AI functions that they have implemented on the controller, and adding then logic to control things in the automation world, conveyor belts or whatever machinery. So totally sidetracking from my slides, but
sorry.
but that's all good, because I like to talk about Codesys more than I like to talk about our office, like here. But I just want to mention that we keep growing here in the US continuously since we started in 2017, and we just moved last year to a new office here just north of Boston in Beverly, Massachusetts. And if you happen to be in the area, you're welcome to stop by or give us a ring and talk with us about Codesys.
Yeah, I live in the Berkshires, so maybe this summer I'll stop in.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. So now we're getting a little more into the product. Codesys consists of pretty much three main components. And of course, it's all centered on the runtime and the engineering system. So the engineering system is the original product of Codesys that was developed to facilitate programming. It's a full-blown development IDE with debugging features, integrating PLC programming, the debugging, as well as monitoring and HMI design in one development software. And this development software is it's a powerful product that we make available free of charge on our website. It's actually one of the biggest selling points of Codesys versus pretty much everyone else in the automation market, industrial automation market, that you can download our engineering software free of charge and use it to do the programming. You can download even free versions of our runtime systems for different platforms and run that in a demo mode for 2 hours. So that gives everyone time and the means and tools to test out a whole infrastructure before spending any dollars. And then the latest addition to the Codesys product range is the Codesys Automation Server, which is our cloud-based IIoT / Industry 4.0 platform that kind of complements the runtime systems and the engineering systems by building the framework to remotely control, deploy, manage projects on this do orchestration of deploying different software here, do revision management, and also facilitate continuous integration of automation projects. So we, like I said, the Codesys development system is free available from our website. It's been available for free for since beginning, and we are not going to change that. It's really a powerful tool with all the bells and whistles you need for software development. If you're a Codesys power user or you have large projects that you want to manage, then we recommend to add to the development system the automation server as the framework for managing projects, do a vision control system, and get a overview of deploying systems in the field in a very secure way. It's all based on we hosting the software at AWS, and we make sure that our cloud services from the factory floor only use outgoing HTTPS communication to the cloud server, no incoming connections, to make sure no one can breach the security here and get in who is not supposed to.
Excellent.
And then, last not least, here's a runtime system, which is that is actually the product that we are selling for the most part. So every one of our OEM customers, or if you buy on our online store a license to run Codesys on a PLC or a software PLC on a industrial PC or on ARM-based hardware running Linux, then you buy a per unit license for this runtime system that is a permanent license for the lifetime of the hardware. And we actually provide free updates for those runtime systems continuously through our online store. So what do and I don't want to go into too many details here. Just want to point out that the Codesys development system has this automation server framework on top of it. So if you want enhanced features like a digital twin, a ticket system for replacement of application software on the factory floor without having to bring a laptop and plug it into the local network. Then you can create a ticket system, send that by email to a technician on site, and the technician on site can then pull up a web page, make sure everything is secure, hits a button for the deployment, and it will automatically in the background update everything. This is just another view on all the different products we're offering for Codesys. We have the Codesys store, us.codesys.com. Sorry, us.store.codesys.com is the URL for that. You can also take a look at codesys.us for our main website, and you'll see links to our store. And what we offer there in the store is the development system, as well as example programming projects, libraries, and third-party add-on tools. For example, if you want to use a MySQL database, there's an add-on for Codesys for that that's developed by a third party and offered through the Codesys store. You will also see trainings that we're offering here, especially in the US. We are right now still in the pandemic, so we have a lot of customers who are asking for online trainings. But we used to do live trainings on site, and we are offering trainings, private trainings for larger groups. So if you have 5 people who are want to do a 5 or 4 day class on getting into the bits and bytes of programming, IEC 61131, best practices, and so on, we can facilitate that and offer to go on site and do an in-house training. We can also offer off-the-shelf public trainings that are offered in our online store, and we do those trainings. Currently, we have one scheduled here in our office in Beverly, and we also have others scheduled in Orlando, Florida, and some other places that we are going to.
So if you have a choice, choose Orlando. It's really cold up here today.
Yeah, right now I would actually like to be in Orlando rather than here in New England. But it's a funny thing that because Orlando is a popular destination, we actually had some customers who told us, yeah, can we do that training somewhere else in a not so nice location, just because I don't want our management to think we're going on vacation there.
Yep.
So what we offer to OEM customers, so we talked about the Codesys store and off-the-shelf products here. This is then the second way to get to a Codesys runtime would be if you are designing your own hardware platform and you want to sell your controllers under your name, and you want that to be programmable with IEC 611 languages, we offer a runtime toolkit that allows you to integrate Codesys, customize it to your needs, runs on pretty much any processor platform with sufficient horsepower to have at least 32-bit engine underneath and a couple of megabyte memory, up to a full-blown server farm. So it's highly scalable and runs without operating system or with a real-time operating system on embedded controllers or Linux or Windows. So we can offer that runtime toolkit and help you integrate Codesys into your own products. And then our OEM customers then manufacture their devices and distribute Codesys along with their products. One of the cool options Codesys is offering on top of just PLC programming is the integrated HMI features. So we have a web-based system for, we call it web visualization, which is essentially a web server-based HMI. So you can pull up any web browser, point it to your controller, the URL of your controller, and pull up an HMI screen to, pretty much to control whatever you have there and look at the status information that you want to display, tank levels, the number of packages that you've been running through a conveyor belt or whatnot. So this is a very powerful tool that is already integrated in the development system and in many of our OEM customers and our target controllers, as well as in the off-the-shelf available standard software that we are offering in our online store. So you don't have to buy a separate package for HMI. You can use an industrial PC or a Raspberry Pi for that matter. Connect and monitor to it and either use a local display or go through a web browser when you have a tablet or a separate laptop computer where you can dial in and take a look at what your controller is doing.
Yeah, I think that's an important point because I think before I started learning more about Codesys, it was, for me, IEC 61131, it was like a PLC, programmable controller, IDE, right? So I was going to write ladder logic, function block, structured text, all that good stuff. And it's a lot more than that because you have a built-in HMI and you have other things too. And I don't know if the audio audience won't be able to see your slides, but you have on there visualization, motion control, and so, people, you shouldn't look at Codesys just as the engine for the PLC. It's also the engine for the HMI and motion control and other things.
Right. Yeah. Since you mentioned motion control, that is one of those features that we call Codesys soft motion. So for motion control, there is a PLC open standard for interfacing with drive controllers. So we implemented those in Codesys and makes it available as soft motion in a library. And it is really a powerful tool to use standard drives, usually with EtherCAT or some or similar field bus system, and integrate it in your PLC control application, and also add complex movements for robotics arms and as well as for cam control and 3, 4, 5 axis that you need to synchronize for your application. That, of course, requires some processing power, so I would not necessarily recommend to use a Raspberry Pi to control a robot, but with an industrial PC, even a smaller industrial PC kind of device, that's absolutely an option. And since we're talking about other connectivities, we have that HMI built in. The other thing that comes up more and more right now is cloud connectivity. Industry 4.0, everyone wants to connect to everything. And we have built-in libraries in Codesys to access additional functions like the AWS cloud or Google or other things. MQTT is supported. We have several other networking protocols, even raw sockets that you can use to pretty much program your controller to connect to existing infrastructure that you might have in the cloud or that you're building in the cloud.
Nice.
And what we built on top of this architecture is our automation server as the platform to for deployment for continuous integration of applications. And as you can see, we also have all the standard field buses that are available for industrial control systems. Most of our customers are using either EtherCAT, Modbus TCP, or Modbus RTU. Then here in the US, of course, a lot of Ethernet IP, and in Europe, Profinet. But there's others available as well. CAN bus is another one that is with J1939 very popular in the vehicle mobile business. So if we have quite a few customers who take Codesys, build their own HMI screens, and mount that in a specialty truck as a control system for all the hydraulics to build for the excavators or manure spreading or whatever it is you want to do on that specialty truck. And the Codesys store, I actually jumped ahead and mentioned that already. We have that store available as a marketplace for Codesys products and third-party products. And so if you have a great idea for an add-on library that you would like to sell online, then you can contact us. And we can offer you to add this to our online store and sell that through the official Codesys channels.
You know, while we're here talking about the store, is there and I don't mean to cut you off guard with this question, but is there a book that you could recommend to our viewers and listeners who want to learn more? Do you sell either an ebook or a physical book in your store, or is there something available on Amazon that those who want to learn more could grab a copy of?
Sure, absolutely. We actually just end of last year, Gary Pratt, one of the trainers that we've been working with, he actually released his book of Codesys. It's a great book that I can highly recommend to anyone who wants to dig deep into IEC 611 programming and especially using Codesys. That book is available on Amazon, as well as some other places. In our online store, we have a couple of reference links where you can find the book. We don't sell it directly through our store because our store is really geared towards selling software products.
Got it.
But it's definitely available and a great source or even an alternative for trainings.
Well, I'll dig up the link. You said Gary Pratt, so I'll dig up the link and make sure I include it in the show notes.
Okay, absolutely. And so we have this marketplace available, and we are constantly adding new products and adding new training options, online, offline, programming examples, anything that you might need to facilitate your product. I also want to mention here that and I don't have a slide for that, that we have the Codesys Forge. That is a platform that we put into place to have open source projects with Codesys. So it's kind of the Codesys version of GitHub and those free sources of information. It's combining like a forum style a dialogue where you can post questions for the Codesys community all over the world and exchange information about how to do certain things, how to interface with specific hardware, software, interoperability with other systems on the market, specialty applications. So that's a very good active community to just post a quick question. Oh yeah, I have a J1939 device from manufacturer XYZ that I would like to control through Codesys. What do I need for that? What kind of CAN interface cards do I need? How do I write my application so it uses this J1939 ECU? So those kind of questions, and especially when it comes to Raspberry Pis, there's a lot of people on those forums who are doing developments with Raspberry Pis.
Nice.
And BeagleBone boards for that matter. So what we actually have on this Codesys Forge right now, with what's really popular is we have a Sparkplug B implementation there based on our standard MQTT libraries. And so if you're working with with Ignition or with similar products and you need some cloud connectivity with a higher level of programming than the regular lower level MQTT communication, that's a good option. And it's available as an open source project in the Codesys Forge.
Could you just give us a couple seconds on Sparkplug? Because I think many of us think of the thing that's in our engine.
Yeah, Sparkplug is an overlay protocol on top of MQTT for communication into the cloud.
Okay, good. Thank you.
It's it's kind of an alternative to other protocols like OPC UA that are out there right now.
Okay.
All right, now I'm kind of lost my train of thought, but I think I'm pretty much done with with the Codesys store and with the Codesys Forge. Just a quick overlook about what Codesys is all about. So we strive to be there for our customers, which are either end users and system integrators, or OEMs building machines or devices, controller devices. And so we strive to have a standard-based programming system that is compliant to the IEC 61131-3 standards, to all the different field bus standards that are out there, and also be compliant to additional recommendations or requirements in the industry. Cybersecurity is one that comes up a lot more and more. And we constantly add features and cybersecurity enhancements to existing Codesys products. And for automation providers, we want to provide a means to, if you want to build your own PLC and sell it on the market, or you want to build a custom machine and you don't want to use an off-the-shelf PLC, but you want to build your own, you can offer the runtime toolkit to integrate the Codesys runtime in your system. You can then connect with your special IOs and whatever you have, maybe a special AI coprocessor that you have on your controller for analyzing video streams, and connect all that to the Codesys runtimes and the IEC 611 programming. And then you have a ready-to-use system with the programming environment that we provide, and in a very short time to get your product to market. So for product news, what we are working on right now, what's coming up in Codesys here in 2021, and is we continue to modularize the Codesys development system. So the trend is right now we have the Codesys development system with thousands of modules and features, from debugging, for the visualization, for motion control, for the different editors, for all the different programming languages. So we're modularizing that so you can download only the parts that you need and then load additional components later as needed. That allows us to then provide Codesys not as one big block of software, a 2.9 gigabyte install application, but to streamline it to specific needs. Someone only wants to do programming in ladder logic, they don't need all the other editors. And they're all, and if you decide later on, yeah, you want a subroutine in structured text instead of ladder logic, then you'll just add the structured text module to it, and it's with a press of a button and free of charge, where you can add this. Yeah, we also working on Codesys, make Codesys available for more virtualized platforms. Right now, Codesys is a software PLC system that runs on any hardware platform. Now we're working on making that available as a container, a Docker container for Linux, and so you can deploy it hardware independent in its own container. That opens up a whole new world of applications and flexibility of deploying controllers, and that's coming up here in the next couple of months. And in the context of this, we are also adding different licensing mechanisms. Instead of locking a license to a hardware platform and make it a lifetime license for this device, we also are going to offer network licenses where you can instantiate the Codesys controller on the fly as you need, and on the platform that you need it on. And then if you don't need it, you just delete the instance and return the license, and you can deploy it on a different machine as a different instance. So the other thing that we're expanding much is Git integration. We had very good success with Subversion for revision control of the application code. Now we're doing the same thing with Git. And the idea is that you do a tighter integration of the development system with Git repositories that you build yourself in the cloud or even in our automation server. And we offer more enhanced redundancy options for the Codesys runtime. So if you have an application that is critical for you're programming a critical process, and you want to make sure that your refinery doesn't stop working just because a controller hardware fails or someone pulls the power plug. Then you can deploy Codesys on two redundant hardware platforms and in a redundant configuration, so one takes over when the other one is powered down.
You know, I was talking about that with Chris in the pre-show meeting, and I'd love to learn more about that. Maybe we can have you guys back on to cover some of these topics. But I think
Yeah.
that would be very interesting to much of our audience because redundancy is, in mission critical applications, it's very important.
Yes, and this is definitely something where we can do a separate session for that with one of our technical experts here and show you how that is done and give you an overview about the redundancy options.
Yeah, I love that.
They're currently available for all the standard platforms, like for Windows, for Linux, industrial PC, and ARM-based platforms, using Ethernet as the redundancy link between those two. And last but not least, we're enhancing our cybersecurity measures in Codesys, built in both in the development system as well as on the controller. More and more Codesys controllers go into critical infrastructure, meaning there's requirements to secure both the communication between the development system and the controller, to authenticate that you're talking with the right controller and not a man in the middle. And we added a lot of those features already in Codesys over the last couple of years, and we're now adding more features like signing libraries. So you know that when you're doing your programming work, that you're using a library that no one's been tampering with. And that's what I have here. This is just a different view on the same thing. Except one addition here is that we are also are about to release an extension API for Codesys runtimes. And that API is going to be available for all standard store platforms and allow you to build custom software modules as part that will be running as part of the runtime, and expand the functionality of Codesys on specific platforms. For example, if you're using a Raspberry Pi, then we provide all the I/O pins of the Raspberry Pi as standard parts of the runtime. You can access the I/Os directly as through the I/O mapping in the Codesys programming. If you have a general ARM platform, then of course we don't know ahead of time what kind of I/O port pins you have available, and what kind of PWM converters you have in your hardware, and so on and so on. And that, in order to allow then the customer to build mini drivers to access this hardware, we have this extension API available.
You know, one thing I want to throw here too, while we're on this slide, for the audio only company, for the audio only listeners, is your LinkedIn URL. I know a lot of us spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. You know, it's the social media for business, it seems. And so if you're looking for Codesys on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/company/Codesys-corporation. I know sometimes you'll find like multiple LinkedIn's for the same company, but I did want to throw that out there because a lot of us are on LinkedIn, and you can find Insights in Automation, the Automation School, and myself on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, thank you, Shawn. In fact, you will find a couple of Codesys divisions on LinkedIn. Codesys Corporation is that you mentioned is the US division. We have a general Codesys group as well on LinkedIn, which is our headquarters in Germany. And then there's also one for Codesys in Italy.
Oh, all right.
That's last not least here. We are continue to grow here and planning on growing again like we did last year. We keep hiring more applications engineers to help out with customers with tech support, do more training classes, new training classes for more specific features in Codesys. And we also, hopefully, now that we are past that last COVID spike, I hope it's going to be the last. We are also planning on going to trade shows again.
Yeah,
so, for example,
I was going to say, could you talk a little bit? I know Chris was telling me a lot about Tech Talk. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Tech Talk is something that we created 2 years ago as an online forum for us to have presentations around Codesys. So we usually schedule that through 1 week with a few 2 to 3 sessions per day, where we invite customers to talk about their application stories with Codesys and in totally different areas. And we also talk about what's new, what are the latest developments, tips and tricks. And also part of it is a 1 hour free intro to Codesys, where one of our trainers is going through the getting started with Codesys steps.
Oh, nice.
And that's coming up here in March, from March 7 to 10. And you'll find the information on our website, codesys.us. And you'll find it on the LinkedIn posts as well. Yeah, that's all I have here for you. Any questions that I've been talking a lot here? Anything you would like to know about Codesys in addition to what I mentioned?
No, I really think you covered everything. I was trying to interrupt anytime something popped up, and I know we've kind of covered where people can go to find out more information. And if you're listening to the audio only podcast, of course, you can always grab the video edition either at theautomationblog.com or on YouTube. And of course, the audio is available almost everywhere. But no, I really appreciate you coming on, Marcus. I thank Chris for setting this up, and just want to thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you, Shawn, for having us on the show, and it was a pleasure talking to you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Markus for taking time out of his busy schedule to come on the show and bring us up to speed on Codesys. Now, if you're watching the video edition of the podcast, please consider giving us a like and a sub. And if you're listening to the audio-only edition, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It helps us grow the audience and also helps us find new vendors to come on the show. Now, if you want to follow me, and even buy me a cup of coffee if you want, you can do so over at automation.locals.com. And of course, all my training courses can be found at theautomationschool.com. With that said, I want to wish you all a very safe, healthy, and happy week. And until next time, my friends, peace.